Idaho Republicans are now trying to ban people from traveling out of state to get an abortion. So this is after Idaho had completely banned abortions altogether in their state. So now House Bill 242, which passed through the state house and is likely to move quickly through their Senate, would seek to limit minors' ability to travel for abortion care without parental consent. So basically what they're doing is that this is a ban for minors, and it's a way to do, oh, see, we're advocating for parental rights. You see, this is not just punishing teen girls or for getting pregnant. No. We're just we're looking out for the parents. We're looking out for the parents, you see. Right. Okay, so now the legislation would create a crime dubbed abortion trafficking, which is defined in the bill as an adult who, with the intent to conceal an abortion from the parents or guardian of a pregnant, unemancipated minor, either procures an abortion or obtains an abortion-inducing drug for the minor. Recruiting, harboring, or transporting the pregnant minor within this state commits the crime of abortion trafficking. So, okay. Abortion trafficking, would be considered a felony, and those found guilty would face 2 to 5 years in prison. Now, the point that I want to make here, aside from how, again, ridiculous this is the fact that usually these laws target children first, minors first, and then get expanded. We saw that with some of the gender-affirming care. Right? Some of the states that ban gender-affirming care for minors have now already started to plan or even introduce banning gender-affirming care for adults. So this is how it starts. And so, look, that said, Idaho has already banned all abortions within the state. And now they're going after, transporting minors in the state with the intention to have them cross state lines to go into a state that does allow them to get abortions. And of course, there's more than just abortions. There's also drugs that induce abortions as well. And it wouldn't be a shock to me to see if they pass this, which is very likely to pass, that they would try to expand it to adults somehow. It is about power and control. Now, of course, there's a lot of issues here, including how would you enforce this, etc. But look, let's get into more of the details, okay? And try to look further into this. Now, the legislation includes a statute allowing the Idaho Attorney General to supersede any local prosecutor's decision, which would preemptively thwart any prosecutor who vowed not to enforce this law. So that's another part of that where it's like, oh, no. If you're a prosecutor, you must do this. You must do this at the order of the Idaho Attorney General. Because we are all about small government here. So, but what this would do, again, is basically means that if you're a family member, like an aunt or a grandparent or your sister or whatever, and you take a pregnant minor across the state with the intention to go over into another state to allow them to get an abortion, or even to get them prescribed medication, you are a criminal now, or will be in Idaho. Now, again, most pregnant people, and again, this would be very tricky to enforce because it doesn't actually say anything about crossing the state lines. It's all about transporting them in state. Most pregnant people in Idaho would be traveling to the border with the intent of crossing those state lines into Washington, Oregon, and Montana in order to get an abortion there. Now, David Cohen, law professor at Philadelphia's Drexel University, whose work focused on constitutional law and abortion policy, talked to HuffPost. Here's what he said about this. Quote, technically, they're not criminalizing people driving in Washington state with a minor. The crime is the time someone is driving the minor in Idaho. They're going to say that what they're doing is just criminalizing actions that take place completely within Idaho. So that, of course, is to sidestep Uh, one of the concerns, right, brought up to the Supreme Court when they struck down Roe v. Wade, which is protecting interstate commerce. Oh no, yeah, of course we're going to protect interstate commerce and people being able to freely cross the borders and all that. So it's not, and so Idaho lawmakers, they looked at this and they said, you know what, we're going to have a problem with the Supreme Court if we ban them from crossing state lines. So we're just going to criminalize them here. Ah, I see. In practice, they said that what they're criminalizing is the person that is helping the minor. So, look, now one of the sponsors of this bill also spoke to HuffPost. This is State Representative Barbara Ahart. Sorry. And basically said plainly that the intent of the legislation is to limit minors' ability to travel out of the state without their parental consent. Quote, it's already illegal to get an abortion here in the state of Idaho. So it would be taking that child across the border, and if that happens without the permission of the parent, that's where we'll be able to hold accountable those that would subvert a parent's right. Look, I get the whole argument about parents' rights, but at the same time, if you have a parent that refuses to let a 12-year-old who's been, raped or and that, one of the worst case scenarios, or obviously got pregnant another way, and don't want to be pregnant. Well, look, if this minor doesn't want to have this, be forced to have this baby, and tries to go and get an abortion somewhere else because it's illegal in Idaho, I mean, that's a horrible situation. It is a horrible situation. And so, look, this, when it comes to the issue of parental rights, Idaho says, well, we're just looking out for the parents, right? But hold on. Idaho also made it a crime punishable by life in prison for a parent to get their child gender-affirming care if they're trans. So really, the issue of parental rights really isn't about parental rights. It's about trying to ban abortion. That's what's going on here. Because it looks like to me that all they want to do is to give rights to certain kind of parents. And that's it. Look, I do prefer that parents be involved in the decision for a minor to get an abortion. That would be the best case scenario here is, hey, this happened and the parent is supportive and loving and they can all come to a decision whether or not to do, to have the child given up for adoption or raise it. It should be their decision, right? Or to get an abortion. But there are situations where the parent, it will hurt more for the parent to actually know about this. And I know it's a terrible thing to say, right? But look, there's studies, there's data that back this up. And sometimes requiring parental involvement can actually increase the risks of harm and abuse. Could also delay healthcare and lead minors to seek dangerous alternatives. And look, it's not as if a minor has never made a dangerous, impulsive decision before, right? And so the risk, by the way, is also acute for LGBTQ kids. And look, currently 36 states do require some kind of parental involvement. However, almost all of those do have a bypass process that can allow for a minor to obtain approval from a court without alerting their parents. Now, in a lot of Republican states, though, we are seeing efforts to make it so that you cannot go and do these bypasses. Okay. So now, HuffPost also points out that this procedure can be time-consuming and confusing and could put up many logistical barriers for younger people who have few resources. Now, another issue that I could see here, and obviously it's not going to be super widespread, but what if the pregnancy was caused by an abusive parent themselves? It's not like that hasn't ever happened before. There are definitely cases of molestation and abuse. There's also, of course, the elements of shame when it comes to religion, embarrassment, punishment. So there are reasons where this, of course, could happen, where instead of telling a parent, this minor would want to reach out to a trusted adult, an aunt, an older sister, someone that they believe in, that they trust, to try to, help them with a situation where they don't believe that they will get that help at home. And so that's why criminalizing this in Idaho is, I think, harmful. This was brought up by Idaho State Representative Lauren Nicokia. Here's what she said. There are cases where a minor might not feel safe telling their parents they need abortion care. It could be an abusive family situation. It could be any number of circumstances that make it feel unsafe for a 17-year-old to go to her parents, but maybe has a big sister who can help her out. That said, the bill would prohibit a minor from talking to a sibling or other trusted relatives about plans to obtain an abortion because, again, those people would end up being criminalized. Not the person, not the minor, but making it so that you can't even talk to someone that you trust about it, because it would make them, under the law, be a penalty if you don't turn that family member in. So again, there's a lot of, just really, really terrible implications of this law. Now, several national health groups say that, look, minors should not be required to involve their parents in this decision to obtain an abortion. That includes the American Medical Association, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and the American Academy of Pediatrics. Again, personally, I would want, in the vast majority of circumstances, of course, I would want the parents to be involved in such a decision. But we also have to know, and again, they are in the vast majority of circumstances, they are involved. But what we need to be mindful of and remember is that there are situations where they can't be. And Republicans in Idaho are saying, we don't care about people that are in that situation. We don't care at all. We're just going to, pass this ban anyway. And I think that's the wrong way to go. It could have absolutely a chilling effect. And I think that's kind of the point.